Hi. I'm in a terrible mood today. Terrible. You know why? Because I'm lost in this very unhelpful cycle of thought that I don't know what I'm doing, that I don't know what's going on, that I'm not good at this, and that, failure. That's where I'm stuck. So today we're going to have kind of a rageful, big movement practice. And hopefully that serves you. And if it doesn't, go do a different video and come back to this one when you need it. Because today this is the energy today. And this cat, you're about to see this cat come into this video, and this cat is going to drive me bonkers. Come on. Show everyone who you are. Okay. She's going to do whatever she wants to do. We're going to start standing. We're going to start in a goddess squat. So bring your legs wide, way wider than hips distance, way wider than shoulders. Turn your toes out about 45 degrees. Slight bend in the knees, rooting through the heels. And as you root through your feet, I want you to think about grabbing the mat with your toes. I want you to think about sliding your heels in and forward. So if this is your feet and these are your toes and this is your heel, I want you to think about pulling your heel in and forward. So you're not actually doing any movement that you can see, but internally you're finding this grip on the mat, and then you find that your pelvis finds this tilt forward and up, and then your tailbone points down, and then you bend into your knees. And we're going to start here. Hands on the body. With some big breaths. Warming in through the inner thighs. Feeling that grip. Oh my gosh. Are you going to lay there? Because it's kind of cute. Don't knock anything over. See if you can pull your knees. Today's that day. See if you can pull your toes in line with pull your knees in line with your big toes. And then maybe sink into that squat a little more. Your hands can be anywhere. Hands on the body, hands on the thighs, hands on the hips, hands above the head. Wherever you want to go with it today. And then we'll find a slight slide left and right. So a shift from the left to the right, bending deeper into each knee as we shift side to side. So really building heat through the calves, through the inner thighs, through the glutes. Maybe you add your arms into this breath. And we just keep shifting left and right. Warming up through the legs, really building heat. And as we practice today, my practice today is going to be to release this anger and know that yoga isn't a cure-all. Yoga isn't a thing that you step onto the mat and everything is fixed. But what it can be is a fucking break. It can be a break from the thoughts that you are stuck in. And maybe you slip right back into them after this practice. Hopefully not. But maybe you do. But for at least, the length of this practice, you gave your self-esteem, you gave your mind, you gave your heart, body, soul connection a fucking break from berating yourself and just completely lying to yourself about who you are, what you've accomplished, and where you're going. Release this goddess pose. Big inhale, hands come up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward, turn your toes forward. Find a wide-legged forward fold. Big breath in. Big breath out. Maybe you find that you shift your hips left and right. We're building heat in the body today, and then releasing that heat with the breath and imagining that this heat that you're building in your body is that anger, that rage, that despair, that sadness. And as we exhale, big giant exhales, We're going to release all of that shit. Inhale, halfway lift, hands underneath the shoulders, big breath. Exhale, forward fold. Hello, kitten. Big breath in, halfway lift. Big breath out, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Hands come up overhead, biceps by the ears. Interlace your fingers, bring your hands behind your head, lean back, squeeze your butt cheeks, turn your toes out. Turn your toes out, heels in, squeeze your butt cheeks, send your hips forward, send your head into your hands. Find this little mini back bend, this hip opener. Big breath in. And hinge forward from the hips. So keep a nice, tall, long spine. Don't round. Keep steady through the core. Begin to hinge, 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 hinge all the way forward into a halfway lift. Warming up through the hamstrings, through the glutes, through the low back. Big breath. Inhale, come forward. Press your hips forward. Keep hinging. Keep that straight spine. All the work is happening through the hips and hamstrings. Squeeze the glutes. Press the hips forward. Lean the head back into the hands. Inhale, hinge forward. Use the core. Keep that straight spine. Slight tuck of the chin. Pull the head back. Press it into the hands. Keep that halfway lift, that nice flat back, pressing in through your feet. Micro bend in the knees. Squeeze the inner thighs. Big breath. Exhale. Come back through a neutral spine. Bend into that goddess squat. Keep your hands behind your head. And as you breathe, as you exhale, find a dip of the elbow towards the hip. Inhale, coming back through center. Exhaling, dipping, hinging, bending, sending. Elbow to knee or elbow to hip. Inhale, come back through. Exhale. Inhale, back up. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, back up. And as you send the elbow to the side, look up at your top elbow. Keep going. Keep crunching. 2 more, one each side. Or maybe today we work on our affirmations. Inhale, hands up, straighten the legs. Exhale, turn the toes forward, forward fold. Maybe we work on our affirmations today and we say really fucking nice things like, you are not a fucking failure, Chelsea. You are not stupid. You are not slow. You are not behind. You are powerful. You are figuring it out. Every obstacle that comes your way, you figure it the fuck out every single time. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend into your right knee. Maybe heel toe your right foot out just a little bit further. Turn your right toes out about 45 degrees. Start to walk your hands towards that right leg and hinge into your right hip. We come into a side lunge or skandasana. Now, if you have your heel down, that's great. If you can set your booty down all the way to the mat, this is where I'm at today. Fully expanded, fully extended. If you're not there, that's fine. If you have your heels down, see if you can work on your balance, keeping maybe hands at heart center, biceps by the ears, or airplane arms. And if your heel is up, if you're not quite getting that heel down, that's totally cool. Keep your hands on the ground, keep your chest proud. Support yourself as you work into that ankle and hip mobility. But if you're here and if your booty is all the way down on the ground, maybe you start to work on your binds. I often neglect my shoulder mobility for fear of old shoulder pain and old shoulder injuries that aren't there anymore. But I limit myself pretty regularly in my shoulder movement because I'm nervous about reigniting old injuries. So if that's you, maybe today is a practice of bursting through fear. Big breath in, big breath out. Release your bind, bring your hands back down in front of you, press yourself up, and then start to shift your weight into both feet, walking your hands over across to the other side, bending into that left knee now, and then maybe again you need to heel toe your foot out a little bit. Maybe you need to turn your toes out a little bit more to that 45-degree angle, and then coming into that side lunge. And now again, making adjustments wherever you need to make adjustments, and like noticing how I had to hop my foot back in a little bit because I could feel my ankle and knee were misaligned, and that's going to hurt. And so if you're in a class or if you're taking a session from a yoga teacher and you look around you and you wonder why your body isn't in the same position, well, maybe it's just like not supposed to be. And then let's translate that lesson into life. If you look around you and you see that like your peers are not where you are, you're not where they are, well, like maybe you're not supposed to be. Let's breathe through that one for a second. And again, maybe work through your bind here, pushing through any of those fears, those limiting beliefs. And that's what yoga is for. Yoga is not a cure-all. And I have to remind myself that all the time because I see these people, these yoga influencers that I follow on social media, and they just have these beautiful, poignant things to say about yoga and how it's helped and then how it's healed and all these things. And I get so frustrated because I still am a fucking human person and I don't yet have the flow of words to express the way it's helped the way that they do, and that's okay that my expression doesn't look like theirs. And yeah, let's just remember that we are all fucking different. We are all different, and the pose or the choice or the version of life is going to look different on you than it is on someone else, and that's okay. Ugh. And release your bind. Bring your hands back out in front of you. Start to press into that left foot. Send the weight evenly into both feet. Walk your hands back through center in this wide-legged forward fold. Turn all 10 toes forward. And maybe even turn the toes in a little bit and the heels out. So we're stretching through the outsides of the calves now. Big breath in. Big breath out. We'll find a twist here. Left hand underneath the face. Right hand lifts up towards the sky. Look up at your fingertips. See if you can keep your hips even. So we might find this natural inclination to drop the left hip down to ease the twist a little bit. But instead, maybe keep your hips even. Use the spine to twist. Use the neck to twist. Use your eyeballs to twist, but keep your hips where they are. Big breath in. Exhale, replace the right hand underneath your face. Left hand lifts, big twist. Oof. Big breath in. Exhale, replace left hand down, right hand lifts, big twist. I don't know if you can hear this music, but it's No Diggity, and I just watched Pitch Perfect last night again for the millionth time, and it's still funny. Big twist, switch sides. And just release. As you inhale, take in an affirmation. Fucking do this. I've been doing this. I'm doing a really good job. And as you exhale, really exhale and just release all of that bullshit. One more twist. Press the right hand into the ground. Left hand lifts up to the sky. Exhale. Both hands down. Heel toe your feet together. And then walk yourself towards the top of your mat. And then hang out in your forward fold, feet underneath your hips. Slowly rise up, roll up, nice and round, nice and slow. When you get to the top, roll your shoulders back. Big inhale, biceps by the ears. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands to the shins, hands to the thighs. Find a flat back, pull the shoulder blades down. Big breath. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands, step back into a high plank. Hold here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend into the elbows, lower all the way down. Inhale up for a cobra. Maybe turn the shoulders left and right. And the key here, if you're looking for a back pop, which I almost always am looking for a back pop, you have to release. Can't be tight. You have to release your spine. You have to release your glutes. Use your hands. Use the strength of your upper back to support yourself so that you can really twist and bend into the mid and lower spine. Big breath in. Big breath out. Pull your pelvis up. Tuck your toes behind you. Send your tailbone up to the sky. Down dog. Press into the heels of your hands. Look between your legs. Release your head. Release your neck. Feel your shoulders slide up your back. Feel your biceps squeeze by your ears. Send the tailbone up. Pull the belly button in towards the spine. Bend the knees. Send the heels down towards the mat. So many cues. And then if you ever get stuck in a yoga class, just like looking up and being like, what the fuck did she just say? You're probably doing it right. That's the other lesson that yoga has taught me, is that like you're probably doing it right. And these cues, the reason why different yoga teachers give so many different cues is because different words connect different people to different parts of their body. So one cue might not work for you and it might not register in your mind, but for someone else, it clicks on a light bulb and it helps them understand the connection between their mind and their body. So maybe just know that not every cue is for you, and that's okay. So take what serves and leaves the rest. That's the point. That's the biggest lesson of yoga. Take what serves and leave the rest. Three-legged dog, right leg lifts. Big inhale. Exhale, scorpion tail. Stack those hips. Bend the right knee. Flex the right foot. Look underneath your right shoulder. Take for a full breath. Inhale, straighten that right leg. Exhale, step the right foot through your hands. Find a runner's lunge. Draw your knee in front of you, right on top of the ankle. Look at your toes, then send your knee towards your toes. And come back onto the ball of that back foot. Straighten through that front leg. Find a really wide pyramid pose. Inhale, bend into that front knee. Send your knee towards your toes. Exhale, send the knee back. Straighten the front leg. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Aim the back heel down towards the mat. Stretch through that back calf. Inhale, hinge forward. Come onto the back toes. Bend it back. Straighten that front leg. Come onto the full foot behind you. See if you can keep your hips square. Notice if your hips are opening towards the left side. Maybe you can pull that right hip back and pull that left hip forward. Come back over the toes, runner's lunge one more time. Exhale, send the hips back, straighten that front knee, pyramid pose. Notice if you feel a deep intensity through that back foot as you try to aim the heel down. Your stance might be way too wide for your foot to adjust to this amount of weight and this kind of stress. That's okay. You might need to just hop forward a little bit. You might just not be able to release your heel down. That's okay. We might roll out our feet with a lacrosse ball after this, so that will feel really good for you. Come back into your runner's lunge, hinge that knee over the toes, big breath. Play the hand, step back, high plank. Bend at the elbows, chaturanga. Lift up, breathe in, cobra. Exhale, roll over those toes. Send the hips up and back, down dog. And then maybe bend into your feet and into your knees a little bit and walk your dog. Press into your hands. Press your chest towards your thighs. Release your head. Release your neck. Big breath in. Big breath out. Three-legged dog. Left leg lifts. Big inhale. Exhale. Scorpion tail. Bend the knee. Flex the foot. Look underneath your left shoulder. Stay for the full breath. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, step that left foot through your hands. Find a runner's lunge. And again, we're going to hang out here, knees over toes. Big breath. And then as you exhale, press that left knee straight. Come onto the full expanse of the right foot for this really wide, really extended pyramid pose. Breathing in, hinging forward, drawing the left knee over the left toes for a runner's lunge, rocking onto the back toes, the right toes. And then as you shift back into that wide pyramid, your right heel aims down towards the mat. And again, you might notice to ease the tension in the foot and in the calf, your hips start to open. So maybe you can pull that right hip forward and send that left hip back to find a more squared position. Inhale, hinge forward, knees over toes. And push it back. Runner's lunge, big breath. Pyramid pose in the back. Send it forward to runner's lunge one more time. And plant your hands, step back, high plank. And the elbows lower all the way down, chaturanga. Press up, cobra. Roll over your toes. Use your core to send your hips up towards the sky, landing in a down dog. And maybe you can take a second to see what I mean by roll over your toes. This is just a good way to stretch into the tops of your feet. It's also not a requirement. So if you're here in your cobra pose and you're pressed through your heels of your hands, you have a nice proud chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you. Hips are pressing down towards the mat so that we get some mobility through the spine. Now, as you press into your hands even more, you start to use the core. Notice I'm pulling my belly button up towards the sky. It's all from my core. It's all from my hips and glutes. Then I start to press into the tops of my feet to lift my knees. And then I press my hips back and roll over the tops of my feet And then I reset my feet for my down dog. Big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, come up on those tippy toes, look forward, step, hop, float to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Sweep the arms up overhead. Big inhale. Then with an exhale, scream, release. Big inhale, sweep the hands up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center, step the left foot back, high lunge, biceps by the ears. Big breath in. Big breath out. Flying lunge. Send the weight over the toes, send your knee towards your toes, send your chest over your knee. Nice long spine, arms behind you, squeeze the shoulder blades down and away from your ears. Palms face up, big breath. Maybe find a pulse. Use then the triceps. Big breath in. Big breath out. Rooting through that front foot. Beneath the big toe, beneath the pinky toe, and then left and right sides of the heel. Big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, biceps by the ears. Come up. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. We're going to twist and walk our hands to the right, hinging into that right knee, coming back into that skandasana or side lunge. Big breath in. Again, working through any variations of this that you would like. Big breath in. Big breath out. Coming back into the hands, onto the feet, hinging through center. Wide-legged forward fold. Turn the toes in. Big breath in. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Walking the hands to the left side of the mat, Skandasana. Taking your variation here. Big breath in. Big breath out. Coming back forward onto the hands. Shift the weight into the hands. Pivot towards the back of the mat. So you're in your lunge on the left side now. Biceps by the ears. Big inhale. Just breathe here. Big breath. And then we hinge forward, knees over toes, chest over knee. Palms come behind us, face up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Big breath. Maybe you find that pulse. Lifting and lowering using the triceps. Big breath in. Big breath out. Rooting through the foot, all four corners, using the glute. Big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, biceps by the ears. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Press your hands into the mat. Step back. Down dog. Big breath in. Big breath out. Look forward. Come up on those tippy toes. Step, hop, float to the top of your mat, which is really the back of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Sweep the arms up overhead. Big inhale. Exhale, hands down to the heart. Inhale, sweep the hands up overhead. Exhale, hands to the heart. Step back with the left foot, high lunge. I wonder what kind of sound my hair makes all over this fucking microphone. Big breath in, high lunge, biceps by the ears. Let's play around with some movement here. So let's find extended side angle. Pivot on the back foot, rotate on that back foot so that the outer edge of your back foot is parallel with the short edge of your mat. And find that flow. So maybe try again. Come back to that high lunge with your biceps by your ears and find a nice, smooth, fluid movement from high lunge to extended side angle with your right hand on the inside of your right foot, your left shoulder stacked on top of the right, left arm reaching up towards the sky, eyes looking up at the left hand. Big breath. And of course, there are other variations of extended side angle you can take. You can rest your arm on your knee here. Now, if you do this, know that this is not the excuse to just lean here, but instead it's just to support yourself. You see how I dumped into my shoulder here and here, and now I'm holding myself up, using my core, using my shoulders, using my traps to keep myself extended. And then, of course, you could use your obliques to hold a beach ball here. I am not at all doing that. Big breath in. Big breath out. Maybe you reach for a bind and extended side angle, playing with supporting yourself on that front foot, interlacing your fingers. Big breath. And then maybe you play with rotating on that back, on that front foot, into your Skandasana. So if you were here in your side, extended side angle with no bind, you would support yourself on that right hand and pivot into that right foot as you come into your Skandasana or side lunge. If you have the bind, a little bit more fun, a little bit more challenging. If you're holding that bind and extended side angle, maybe you wrap your, oh no, whew, that was hard. Whatever, come into your Skandasana. Big breath in, big breath out. Big breath in, big breath out. Both hands down in front of you. Shift your weight through center. Oh, goodness. All 10 toes facing forward. Release your head, release your neck, release your spine. Oh, big breath in. Big breath out. One more. Big breath in. And big breath out. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Tighten through the core, hands on the hips. Use your inner thighs, use your glutes, use your hamstrings to hinge up. Press the hips forward, spin the toes out, pull the heels in, bend into your knees, goddess squat. Big breath. Big breath in. Big breath out. And if those thoughts come creeping back in, let out a big fat scream. Big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, straighten the legs. 5-pointed star, biceps by the ears. Actually, I guess 5-pointed star would be like this, like arms out to a T. So I think we could just call this I don't fucking know, standing wide-legged stance. And then we rotate on both feet for a warrior 2 extended side angle. So kind of a flow here from our standing wide-legged stance. Our 5-pointed star opens up through warrior 2 as we pivot on our feet and we flow into extended side angle. So maybe try that one more time. We were in goddess squat. Inhale up. Exhale, pivot. Hinge. Extended side angle. Big breath. Your variation here, again, you can have forearm to knee as long as you are supporting yourself and we're not dumping and schlumping. We're keeping straight and solid. We have weight in both feet, so you'll maybe check out my feet and notice this is what it looks like when you have no weight on that back foot. This is what it looks like when you have weight on that back foot. So I'm steady through my back foot. One more big breath in. If you're here for the bind, take the bind. Maybe you find an outside bind, and then you shift into that Skandasana again, or that side lunge. So work on that. Find a flow here. Try it again. Extended side angle, flowing into Skandasana. Oh, and maybe you feel that burn through your thighs. Holy shit. Ugh. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in. Big breath out. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Pivot on your feet. One more time, turning all 10 toes to the top of the mat. Woo! And then we step forward into a forward fold. Goodness. Big breath. When I fucking tell you, you guys, when I tell you that when I said, come into your forward fold, and we hung out here for a second, and I said, actually, I'm going to go check my camera and make sure it's still recording, because if it's not, the rage fit that will come out of me is unbelievably, like, it's just going to impact the world. And when I tell you that when I checked my phone, there fucking was not recording. Joking, but thank God it landed right there, and it was literally just a message from the universe. I don't know. I if you believe in God, then you believe that you're just being offered opportunities for growth. If you're Christian, it seems it's probably the language of like God is testing you. If you're any other kind of religion or spirituality, I don't know how you would voice that, but like I'm very spiritual, and I would say that the universe is just giving me an opportunity to use these tools that I've been honing for so long. I didn't inhale halfway lift. But it all worked out, so I really can't be too mad about it. So you see, the yoga works. Inhale, hands come up overhead. Exhale, hands down to the heart. Inhale, sweep the hands up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands, step back into a tabletop. Send your hips towards your heels, big toes touch. Maybe bring your knees a little bit wider than hips. And find a child's pose. Cat, get off my hair. Some breaths here. Take some breaths. Maybe just release a cry if you have one. Yoga works, you guys. Less full of rage and anger and more just like able to say what the fuck. And really, that's all this is. This is just a break. It's just an opportunity for us to look inward and like figure out what the fuck we're feeling and what is going on and why we feel this way, and like just move through it, move through it, move through it. Not letting it stay stationary, not letting it stay stagnant in our body, and like not letting these feelings claw onto us and spread, because that's what these doom cycles of thought are. They're just these cleats, like they have little claws, and every time you think it, their claws expand deeper and rooting deeper into you, and that's all yoga is. It's just a break from the claws. One more big breath in. Big breath out. And then come back into your tabletop. And we'll stretch through a pigeon pose on each side, and then I think we'll call it. Actually, no, we'll stretch through pigeon pose on each side, and then if you have a lacrosse ball, we will use the lacrosse ball and roll out our feet. And then I think we'll call it. So from tabletop to get into pigeon pose, pull your right knee to your right elbow. Turn your right ankle towards your left wrist, slide your left leg back, and then come onto your sits bones. And if you can, press yourself up nice and tall at first. So you might notice that you lean over to the right to make space for the tightness that happens in your left side body and your hip flexor, and through even through the mobility through your knee and through your hip on the right side. So you might notice that it's helpful to come up a little bit and actually lift the hips. The more we pull our heel, this front foot, the more we pull this front foot in towards our center line, the more it eases up on the challenge in the hip mobility and the knee mobility. And then if you want to make it more challenging or deeper, however you want to say that, then you can pull the shin forward so that it's more parallel with the top of your mat. And then you really have to work on finding square hips. So if you are trying to find that pigeon pose, maybe a way that you can ease into it is by using blocks, if you have blocks. So again, we have that pigeon pose, and I don't have that mobility right now today. I don't know if I ever really do. But one way that you can get into that is by sitting up on a block, and then you can work on pressing that knee down. So you're opening up through the hips. So you're bringing the ground up to the sits bones so that your hips can stay square. And then you're working on pressing that right knee or that front knee down. So this is a really, really active pose. And I would say this is a lot of strength as well. Like, it takes strength to hold yourself up here in this square position. So you kind of feel into what feels good for you. Maybe it's better today that you take it a little bit softer on yourself and you pull the front foot in, and then you work on just squaring the hips. It might feel good to use your blocks here. And maybe you find some twists. And then moving through some lifts and lowers, rolling the spine down and up. And then really just building strength and trust through the glute. And when you're ready to lie down, if you even want to, you can come forward and let your forearms come down. You can use a block to rest your head. And come back to that inner dialogue with yourself, saying something nice like, I am not a fucking failure. And everything really is okay. And it's good that I have an image of where I want to be. Having goals is good, and it's okay that I'm not where I want to be. And if I was where I wanted to be, and the image of where I wanted to be was where I wanted to be, then I could just want to be here. Right in the mic. I hope you guys turned your volume down today for this one. And slowly start to lift your head and start to walk your hands back in towards your body. Are you coming to check on me? Thank you. I'm okay. Thank you. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. I love you. Okay, get out of here, please. Go on, out. Thank you. All the way. Go on. Keep. All right. I guess that'll just have to do. And the way we safely come out of this pigeon pose, tuck the back toes, press into your hands, lift the back knee, You can rock onto your right hip and then come sit in a full wide-legged straddle. I'm going to turn around so that I'm facing you. So you come sit in a full wide leg seat. And then try to take it nice and wide. And again, we're going to build some muscle here. We're going to build some strength. So sitting up nice and tall, roll your shoulders back, maybe bring your hands to your body. And then as you touch your body, I feel like for me, something happens automatically. As soon as I bring my hands to my body, I find a straighter posture. I can tell when my hips are, when I have this huge tilt of my pelvis down, I can find that as soon as I bring my hands to my body, I align my hips better, more correctly, and I find that forward tilt. And there's a posterior anterior tilt, and I get them very mixed up, and I never know which one is which. So I'm just going to say forward and back or up and down. It's really helpful for me. So when I bring my hands to my body here and I'm sitting up nice and tall, pulling my shoulders away from my ears, and then I find that tilt up of my pubic bone up towards my face. I find my knees open, my toes pointing up. Big breath. And we're going to hinge forward in between our legs. You can keep your hands on your body, and then maybe you find that you need to press your knees into the mat and really press the backs of your knees down as you fold forward. Maybe you find your toes lift up. Maybe you find they pull back towards your shins. Keep hinging, keep pulling, keep going. Big breath in. Stop when you need to stop, and then start to hinge back up. Squeeze the glutes. Use your inner thighs. Keeping that straight back. We'll do that one more time. And maybe this time you find this is going to make it way harder, but biceps by the ears, arms overhead, big breath in. And as you exhale, we forward fold, pressing through the backs of the knees, squeezing the inner thighs, pointing the toes up towards the sky. Keep going, keep hinging. Stop when you need to stop. Oh God. And then lift back up. Use the core. Use the glutes. Keep that nice, straight, stiff spine. Big breath in. Big breath out. Maybe bring your hands behind you. Just relax for a second. Maybe pitter patter those knees out. Roll out your ankles. Cross your shins. Roll over your shins. And then come back into your tabletop. And then we'll find pigeon pose on the other side. So again, drawing the left knee to the left elbow, pulling the left ankle towards the right wrist, and then sliding that back leg back into your pigeon pose. And all the same cues apply. Notice when you're feeling a tightness through the hips, through that hip flexor, when you're having a limited mobility through the knee and through the hip in the front, all of those things are going to cause you to open up. You're going to end up on that left hip or on that front hip, and then you're going to open up to the side that's long. So step one is squaring the hip. So pulling that hip down and forward. So I'm pulling this right hip forward, sending my left hip back so that they are square and in line. Now notice that makes me lift up. So I can take a block and sit that block underneath my hip or underneath my sit bone on that front side or on my left side. And sometimes this is it. Sometimes this is our pigeon pose. And again, if you want to work on finding that posture with the front shin parallel, again, it might serve you to start here, to start lifted. And you can pull that front foot forward. You can make that front shin parallel, and then you can work on just with your brain, just with your hip flexor, pushing that knee open. This is going to start to give you some mobility through the hip. This is going to start giving you mobility through the knee, but this isn't going to force anything. You're building strength here because you're really connecting with your body instead of just shoving yourself into a shape. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then we'll find some lift and lowers flowing through some spinal waves. You can lead. Think about as you go down, leading with the belly button, then the chest, then the chin, then the forehead, and then you come up. Think about leading with the spine first, pressing the spine up towards the ceiling, then lifting the head, then lifting the chin, and then going down and back up. And then when you're ready, if you're ever going to be ready, you can walk your hands forward. Come onto the forearms. Release your head, release your neck. Big breath. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in. Big breath out. One more. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then we lift the head, walk our hands back underneath our shoulders, shift onto that left hip, and open up one more time into a wide-legged or a straddle, depending on who you talk to. Maybe you pull your booty meat out of the way so you can sit up nice and tall. Maybe you bring your hands to the insides of your knees and just find some kind of cat and cow movement here. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then we'll come down into this wide-legged forward fold. Seated wide-legged forward fold. And again, you can use a block to support your head. We'll take 3 big breaths here. And slowly lift your head. And I'm going to end this video here. I highly recommend you take a final resting pose. Maybe Shavasana on your back, corpse pose. Just lay there for a couple of minutes. Maybe butterfly pose. Maybe just sitting up nice and tall and just taking a few more breaths. And then in this next video, we'll do a rollout of the feet and it'll be about 5 minutes. So if you have the tools for that, go grab those. And I love you and I love me and I hope you feel better. And if you don't, keep screaming and just keep screaming until it's all out. And then, let me know if that worked. Have a great day.